When I look at our readings for today, it sounds like God has come to our annual meeting. Through the words of Isaiah, God speaks to us about potential and commitment. Using comparisons with marriage, God says we have two choices: forsaken or married. Nothing in between. We can abandon our church, or we can enter into a full commitment of love and support. God sees the church as transformed, as vital as we can be. I remember when I was writing my resume once, hoping to encourage some future employer to hire me. In describing myself on paper, I had a rather pedestrian listing of what I had already done: schools attended, jobs held, perhaps a recommendation or two. My more knowledgeable friend looked it over and said, who cares? Boring. What you really need on this sheet is what you can do, what you want to do, what more you can offer of yourself. That is what God is saying to Israel, who at the time of the writing was anything but a blushing bride. She was closer to desolate and forsaken, but God saw her true potential. I think God also sees the true potential of God's church in the world and on every level, encourages us to be more than we think we are. Paul looks at a rather dysfunctional church in Corinth and addresses the people as brothers and sisters. He helps them see beyond their rather inconsequential differences of opinion to see the spiritual gifts that God has given them, resources larger than themselves, calling them forward to transformation. The list is varied: gifts of healing, of wisdom, of prophecy, all gifts that come from God and which, working together, can do so much more than the individuals could accomplish alone or even imagine. The astonishing abundance of God is seen most clearly in the gospel story of Jesus at the wedding at Cana. Notice that Jesus' mother has a prominent role in this story. It sounds like she went to the wedding and Jesus and his friends just came to the party afterwards. Anyway, this was a major party with lots of wine flowing, and the abundance of such grandiosity was normal and expected, and its absence would be a serious social flaw. I can just hear a Jewish mother worried about the guests having enough food and drink. She says to Jesus, "They have no wine." Jesus is not concerned, but she won't let it go at that. So she speaks to the servants. "Do whatever he tells you." Now there were 6 huge jars, usually filled with water for washing dishes, which at the moment stood empty. I wonder if Jesus would have taken action without this gentle goading from his mother. After all, until today, and since his baptism, he hasn't done anything unusual. I wonder if his mother knew him better than he knew himself and realized his potential. At any rate, Jesus finally does take action. He orders the servants to fill the 6 jars with water, 20 or 30 gallons each. That's a lot of water. Then he tells the servants to draw out a glass full and take it to the wine steward, who tastes it and exclaims, "Chateau Lafite 1964! story contains a little smirk about hospitality. The usual practice is to serve the good wine early on and save the inferior stuff for when the guests are too drunk to know the difference. But in this story, God's abundance knows no economy. 180 gallons of the best wine is available for everyone at the party. God's gifts are truly beyond our imagining. God's Spirit overflows in generosity, enabling our spirits to do things we cannot even imagine. This morning, we will review the past year in our parish life. We will look at the possibilities of being forsaken and desolate. And we can either sit in a funk over that, or we can embrace our own potential, rejoice in the gifts that God has given us, and celebrate the coming transformation of this parish. We have so much to celebrate. The faith and love in this community, reminiscent of a good marriage, and the excitement of helping others and expanding our mission in the world. The overflowing of God's gifts into the wider community. The abundance to be shared with joy at the great wedding feast of God.